welcome back to the Bookworms, buddy. October is over, spook season's gone, and it always makes me sad. But it is time to do my October wrap-up. I read 12 books in the month of October, which was really good for me. So let's just get to the books that I completed. The very first book that I read was Soul Corrupted. I received this book for an honest review. This is book number 2 to the series of Demons and Angels. Book 1 is Soul Crossed, and I enjoyed Soul Crossed a little bit better than Soul Corrupted, but it was decent. It just didn't like wow me, but it was a really good book. I did end up rating it 4 stars because it was very engaging, and I liked the action and the excitement and stuff in the book. The next book that I read was called Shards, a short story anthology, and this was by C.J. Cummings. I was again approached by the author for a review on this, and it's a book of short stories, and some of the stories I really liked, and some of them, they were okay. I rated it 3 stars, so I think I would probably read more from this author if given the opportunity. The next book that I read, or the next short story I should say that I read, was The Basement, and this was by Chad Brown, and it was just a complete disappointment. It was very, very short. You've got this man who kills his wife in this house and kills himself. Well, years later, this girl is dared to go into this house and down to the basement. It was so predictable, so very predictable. It wasn't even entertaining to me. I rated that 2 stars, that's generous. Okay, the next book that I read was The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith, which we all know is J.K. Rowling, and I'm trying to figure out why this series so far has such a high rating. It is a mystery series. I read a lot of mysteries, so I'm thinking it's just because I'm a little bit picky. I like the pacing of the story. I do like the characters in the story, which is Strike and Robin, but there's just something missing in this, and I probably will pick up the 3rd book and read it. I rated it 3 stars, the same as the first one. I was hoping this one was going to pick up and be better, but I don't know what it is. It's just missing something for me, and it's not allowing me to completely enjoy the story. And like I said, I think it may be because I'm a little picky on mysteries. So yeah. The next one I read was Geralds Game by Stephen King. I had never read this book, and lately I've been hearing of several people who have read it and really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was going to just be some kinky, someone gets killed kind of horror story, but it was just so different than what I expected, and there was some really creepiness going on in the story, and I loved that. So yeah, I rated this 4 stars. The next book I read was Bird Box by Josh Malerman, and I had just recently found this. It was real cheap. It was like $6 at our used bookstore, and brand new. It still had the disc inside there, and I told you guys I would tell you about the disc, but it was really just like a commentary was all it was. It wasn't like extra stories or anything like that, but I loved this story. This is kind of like post-apocalyptic, I'm thinking, and there's creatures outside, and if people look at these creatures, they just go crazy, and they kill people, then they end up killing themselves. Well, you got Mallory, who is has her 2 kids, and she thinks it's time for her to break away from the shelter of this house that has protected them for ages, and it's time for her and her children to move on. And that is the story of that. Creepy, 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 because people have to wear blindfolds so they don't see whatever it is they're seeing, and it's not, you don't really know. You don't know what this is. They just say a creature of some kind. You don't really know what it is that they're seeing, and I thought it kept it pretty wide open for a sequel. So I don't know, we'll see, but I loved it. It was fantastic. I rated this 5 stars. Sorry guys. The next book that I read was The House That Jack Built by Graham Masterton, and this was another great book by him, another great historical, paranormal horror story. In this one, you've got this guy, Craig, who is attacked. And it's him, and he's trying to come back from that and you know, come out of himself, because he was just kind of depressed and everything about that. And he sees this house. It's called the Valhalla. And this was owned by a man named Belias. And he just had to have the house. He had to buy the house. The guy's name was Jack Belias, and the house that Jack built. And he felt like the house was calling to him and that kind of stuff. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to give anything away. But I rated it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. The next book that I read was Milaphobia, and this was by James Morris. This is a book where music is illegal. The government controls all forms of art, and there's no music unless it's like classical or something. So it's got kind of that Footloose feel kind of to it. I rated it 3 stars. I think there was enough in it to enjoy it. It was engaging, but it just, you know, didn't wow me. So yeah, 3 stars for that one. The next book I read was for our read-along of Edgewise. Yes, I read this book again and still enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed it the 2 other times. I think it was a third read. 3 or 4 times I read it. I don't even remember now. But I really love this story. In this story, you've got this woman whose kids are taken by her husband, and she gets involved with this Indian, George, and he says that he can call on the Wendigo, which is a Native American spirit, forest spirit, and he thinks the Wendigo can find her kids for her. And that's all I'm going to tell you. And the story just goes on from there. It's creepy. It's action-packed. Yeah, great story. 5 stars. The next book that I read was A Criminal by Karen Slaughter. This is book number, I want to say it's 6 in the Will Trent series. And at first, I thought it was kind of draggy. I didn't understand the way it was being wrote. But then I finally understood where it was coming from. Amanda, who is Will's boss, it goes back to her life, like 20 years ago, I think, when she first got into the force. And it's really wrote well about how women were treated, like in the 70s, and how they just really didn't get a lot of respect then. And she was a great police officer. And anyway, it covers her life, and you get a really good look at to why Amanda is how she is. But also in the story, you find Will trying to deal with his past. So it was really fantastic. It was a great story, and of course it was a brand new case and all that stuff. But yeah, I ended up rating it 4 stars. The next book I read was Hard Magic by Larry Correia. Susan had been bugging me to read this book, and I've had it for several months. So I finally picked it up because I wanted to see what Susan was talking about, how great it was. This is an adult fantasy. But I liked it. It didn't wow me, but I liked it. In this book, you've got Jake, who is a private eye who was a convict, and it just, yeah. And everybody's got different powers. Like, he's called a heavy, which they can control gravity. And you got those who can travel, and those that can look into your mind and know what you're thinking and that kind of stuff. And, you know, and they're all working on this case, and yeah, it was pretty good. They're fighting against another group, and I can't even remember what the other group was called now, but it's the Grim Noirs, if that's how you say it, and then this other group, and they're kind of at war. So it was a good story. It didn't wow me, but I did enjoy it, and I will probably read the next book. We'll see. It is kind of big. It was over 600 pages, so yeah. I rated that one 3 stars. I don't know if I said that or not. And the last book that I read was Ink Death. This is book number 3 in the Inkheart trilogy, and I liked it. I rated it 4 stars. This trilogy has been said to be middle grade, and there is no way that this is a middle grade book or trilogy. It's very complex. If you remember me saying that this is the one where Mo can read characters from out of a book, and when he reads somebody out of the book, somebody else goes into the book, and it carries on. I'm not sure which one I liked the best out of the trilogy. I did find that there were some inappropriate parts for middle grade readers in this book. The other two weren't quite as bad. They were just really complex. But this one had a few other inappropriate things for middle grade to be reading. So I have to move this up to adult, or to young adult at least. But it was very entertaining. I enjoyed it. I'm glad that I read the trilogy. I've had it since way back. I don't even remember when I got it. It was before summer. I don't even know if it was this year or last year. Maybe it was last year I got it. I kind of think it was last year I got it. But anyway, I really did enjoy the trilogy. I thought it was decent. So 4 stars for that one. And that is the books that I read for this month, guys. And I think I had a pretty decent month. The only book that I did not get through was Drums of Autumn by Diana Gabaldon. This is book number 4 in the Outlander series, and I'm almost halfway through the book. I will finish it this month. We do have an Outlander group where we're reading this, and I'm just really taking my time on them. This one was a little slower in the beginning, but it's picking up, so I'm still enjoying it a lot. So this is where my focus is going to be on starting this month in November. So yeah. So what did you guys read in the month of October for spook season? Did you read scary books, not scary books? Let me know in the comments below and we will talk about it. Thanks guys for staying tuned, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.